$5,500. That was the raise. 2 years later, his savings account had grown by $480. Not because he was reckless. He never bought anything he would call a splurge. Here are the 3 things that actually happened, and the 90-day window where all of it was decided. Start with the arithmetic, because the arithmetic is the whole story. Ray was making $52,000. The raise took him to $57,500. After tax, that landed as about $310 extra a month. Here is where $310 went. The lease was up in March, so he moved. The new place was closer to work and had a second bedroom he used twice. Rent went up $140. The old car had 90,000 miles on it, and the mechanic used the word eventually, so he traded it. Payment went up $90. 2 subscriptions he had been meaning to try, $30. And dinner out moved from once a week to twice, about $60. $140. $90. $30. $60. $320. He was $10 a month behind where he started. The raise was real. Nobody stole it. He signed every one of those 4 decisions himself, and every single one of them was defensible on its own. That is the part the advice always misses. Nobody creeps their lifestyle in one purchase. They creep it in 4 reasonable ones, spread across a season, each of which arrives with its own excuse attached. Now, here is the part nobody tells you. The 4 decisions were not the mistake. The timing was. Because there is a specific window, and Ray spent it exactly the way most people do. But before the window, you have to understand why it closes so quietly. And for that, you need a word that explains almost everything about money and almost nobody uses. Hedonic adaptation. It means this. Any improvement in your circumstances stops registering as an improvement once it becomes your baseline. Not slowly. Predictably. The research on this goes back to the 1970s, and it holds across lottery winners, salary increases, and new houses with the same stubborn consistency. The new apartment felt like something for about 6 weeks. Then it was just where he lived. Picture the moment it happens, because it is not dramatic. It is a Tuesday. Ray comes home, puts his keys in the bowl, does not look at the second bedroom, and heats something up. The apartment that felt like an achievement in March is furniture in June. He did not decide to stop appreciating it. It simply stopped being new, the way everything does. And there is research attached to this, which is the part that should bother you. When psychologists have followed people through significant income increases, the jump in reported life satisfaction does not hold. It drifts most of the way back toward where it started, usually inside a year or 2. The salary stays. The satisfaction goes home, so ask yourself something. What did you buy 18 months ago that felt like an upgrade at the time? And when did you last actually notice it? Most people cannot answer that. Not because they are ungrateful. Because that is what adaptation does. And it does it to everyone, at every income, without asking. And this is the trap, because the feeling faded and the payment did not. Rent does not adapt. Car payments do not adapt. Only you do. The raise was real. The feeling had a shelf life. So he now had a life that cost $320 more and felt exactly like the old one. If you have ever looked around at a life you worked hard for and felt strangely neutral about it, this is the mechanism. It is not ingratitude. It is arithmetic wearing a mood. Which meant that when the next raise came, he was starting from a baseline that had already absorbed the last one. The raise was real. the feeling was gone. Now, if this were an ordinary video about lifestyle creep, we would stop here and tell you to be more disciplined. Do not do that. Stay for what happened next, because the second raise is where the story stops being clean. 18 months later, he got another one, $4,200 this time, and he knew. That is what makes it worth telling. He had already noticed the first raise was gone. He had already said the words out loud to a friend, something like, "This time I am going to actually save it." He saved $840 of it. The rest went to a gym membership he used for 4 months, a phone that replaced a phone that worked, and the slow upward drift of every grocery trip. Once the store brand stopped feeling necessary. 2 raises. $9,700 a year in additional income. $480 in the account. The raise was real. The account was not. So it was not knowledge. He knew. Knowing is not the mechanism. Which brings us to the thing that actually is. Every raise has a window of about 90 days. In those first 90 days, your income has gone up and your life has not caught up yet. The rent is still the old rent. The car is still the old car. For roughly 1/4 of a year, that money genuinely has nowhere it is obligated to be. Here is what happens in a normal 90 days. Week 2, you notice the balance is a little higher than usual. Week 5, something breaks or an opportunity appears, and there is room for it now. Week 9, a second thing. By week 12, the money has been assigned. Not spent recklessly. Assigned. Absorbed into fixed costs that will now repeat every month for years. And notice what those 12 weeks have in common. Not one of them contains a want. Week 5 is a repair. Week 9 is an opportunity with a deadline attached. The money does not leave through desire. It leaves through legitimacy. Every item that absorbs a raise arrives wearing the costume of a good decision. That is precisely why discipline never sees it coming. You cannot resist something you would approve of. And once it is absorbed, it is not a spending decision anymore. It is a lease. It is a loan term. It is a bill. Willpower does not reach it. Picture the same 90 days played differently. Week 1, before the first larger paycheck arrives, Ray opens the transfer screen and sets an automatic transfer for half the raise. $155 on the same day the paycheck lands. Then he closes the app and forgets it, and the money is gone before the window opens. Not gone to discipline. Gone to a machine that is already running. The raise was real. This time, it was also still there in June. And notice what you did not have to do in that version. You did not have to want less. You did not have to explain anything to anyone. You just had to move first. The other half is his. He still moves in March. He just moves into something $140 cheaper than he would have. Nothing about that requires him to want it less. It requires him to be slower than the money. Which brings up the obvious objection, and it deserves a straight answer. So you never get to enjoy anything. You work for 6 years, earn 3 raises, and live exactly the same way you lived at 26. No. Half, not none. That is the entire proposal. Half of every raise goes into your life. Half goes into the machine on the day it arrives, before the 90 days can spend it for you. You still move. You still upgrade the car when the mechanic says eventually. You just do all of it against a slightly smaller number, and you never once have to argue with yourself in a showroom. Ray still got the second bedroom eventually. He got it 4 years later. And by then the account underneath It was large enough that the rent was not the most interesting number in his life anymore. And here is what he would tell you about those 4 years, if you asked. They did not feel like sacrifice. They felt like nothing. He was not white-knuckling a budget. He was living in a slightly smaller apartment that he stopped noticing within 6 weeks, for exactly the same reason he would have stopped noticing the bigger one. Adaptation cuts both ways. That is the part nobody uses in their favor. The version of him that took the whole raise every time got the apartment faster, and the account never. Here is what the third raise looked like. $6,100. On the Monday it took effect. Before the first larger paycheck cleared, he set the transfer. $305, automatic, the 15th of every month. Then he went to work and forgot about it, which is the point. He was not being strong. He was being early. 2 years after that, the machine crossed $40,000 for the first time. He saw it in a grocery line, on his phone, standing behind someone counting coupons. He looked at it for 2 seconds and put the phone in his pocket. It did not feel like anything. That is how you know it is working. 3 raises, 6 years, 90-day windows, 3 of them, and the only variable that ever mattered was whether the money left before the window opened. Because the thing about a raise is that it is the one moment when more money arrives without more life attached to it yet. That gap is small, and it closes on a schedule, and it is the only time the arithmetic is genuinely on your side. Everything after that is negotiation with a bill you already agreed to. Nobody applauds when you set the transfer. There is no moment. You will not feel richer that afternoon, or that month, or honestly that year. You will just be the person whose raise still exists. And the next time one lands, you will have about 90 days. You will not feel them passing. That is the only thing worth remembering from all of this. If you have ever gotten a raise and could not say where it went, subscribe. This channel is about the money that nobody sees, including the money that quietly leaves. $5,500. That was the first one. He can tell you exactly where it went now, which is more than he could 2 years ago, and it is the reason the third one is still here. There are more honest timelines where this one came from. Welcome to the quiet path.